Good.
Saw some the other day after we got out there.
We ready?
Are you the one asking for that, for the secretary? Danny? I didn't really pay attention to who asked. Danny?
We good?
All right, grab the gavel. You got a gavel there?
Good afternoon, everybody. Members, if you take your seats, we're going to try to get started. Today's Tuesday, December 2nd. It is 2:32 in the afternoon, and we're here to review the Highway Priority Program for District 08, which encompasses Avoyelles, Grant, Natchitoches, Rapides, Sabine, Vernon, and Wynn parishes. My name is Ryan Bourriac. I serve as House Transportation Committee Chairman, and I represent District 47, which includes half of Vermilion, all of Cameron, and a portion of Calcasieu Parish. Today we have, I think, when you snuck in, the most well-attended. I was having a good day. I don't know what was worse, when I saw the mayor or when I saw you. We have quite a dais. We have Representative Walters, Representative Furman, Representative Jackson, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem Mike Johnson, Representative Tarver, Senator Price, Representative Schermerhorn, Representative Landry, Representative Larverdane, Representative Moore, and the infamous, illustrious Representative Jason DeWitt. Thank you for making it. We also have some local elected officials in the audience. I'm going to attempt to pronounce your name right, and I'm going to attempt to read your handwriting. We got to work on some of our handwriting. H.G. Williams, the mayor of LeCompte. Azer, give me that last name. K-Paul? Azar? Okay. Sherry Holder, Alderman. Jamaica Neal, the mayor. Pamela Rivers, another alderman, thank you. Cephas Bowie, there we go. With the Grant Parish Police Jury. Lisa Amon, with the town of Woodworth. Danny Bond, did I get that right? Bond, Rapides Parish Police Jury. Board of Law, there you go.
Should know that one.
No, it's only 4 letters on there. Believe me, with Bourriac, I could have got Board of Law. I promise you that. Judy James with the town of Mansura. Is that Evan Smith with the Rapides Parish Police Jury? Craig? Oh, I tell you what, I need some glasses. I got the next one, Clyde Benson. Got Clyde, Mr. Clyde. With the Avoyelles Parish Police Jury. Randy Wiggins with the Rapides Parish Police Jury. Mr. Ali, is that Overton? Hot Dog with the Rapides Parish Police Jury. And where's and Mayor Joe Bishop? Yes, sir. Thanks for hosting us. Okay, we're going to go ahead. Did I miss any local government official? Okay, thank you. As I mentioned earlier, we're here to discuss the Highway Priority Program for this upcoming fiscal year. We're going to have presentations from the department on the updates with the transformation items that are ongoing in Baton Rouge and in the districts. And we're going to have a rundown on the projects proposed for this round of the Highway Priority Program, but most importantly, we will have public comment and hear from you on the status of the plan. With that, I'll turn it over to Secretary Leday. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Good there? Yep. Mic check. Okay. Good deal. Well, thank you, Chairman, members of the committee, senators, and legislators. We're excited to be here in Pineville at the District 08, DOTD District 08 Highway Priority Program presentation. We're really excited, to roll out, our Highway Priority Program, which we'll go through here in a second, but also our transformation that we're undergoing at DOTD. And so, as you all know, thanks to your leadership and the blueprint that you laid with Governor Landry in rolling out the legislation in this spring to help us transform the department really to accelerate transportation infrastructure across Louisiana. And so with that, we've got a lot going on here at DOTD. First and foremost, we have a new Office of Project Delivery, where, as you've heard in some of the other meetings that we've had on this roadshow, we are really addressing systemic issues on our project delivery processes and making sure that we're accountable and consistent each and every year, and that we're delivering everything in this plan every fiscal year. And so that's our commitment. As we'll have some presentations from our new Assistant Secretary and our District Administrator here, they will really testify to all of the ongoing work that we've got at the department, as well as the great work that we have thanks to the LTIF, Louisiana Transportation Infrastructure Fund. So again, thank you for that leadership and all of those efforts. I think hopefully what you'll see today is really a reflection of some of those changes that are coming at the department, and we're really excited about it. But as I said, we've got a lot going on. I want to focus on two things just as I get started. The first is communication. That is part of this process, improving communication and transparency. For that reason, we've got this new guidebook to our Highway Priority Program to help us communicate better what's in that priority program, what needs to be funded in the future, and what we're working on to develop projects. And so we will continue to improve as time goes on, as we really work towards the communication and transparency across DOTD and across our state. But in addition to that, obviously I mentioned project delivery. Our new office is critical. Eric's going to tell you a little bit about those ongoing activities here in a second. But finally, the other major restructure that we have is the new Office of Transformation. And so anything and everything from reorganizing the department, the efficiency evaluation that we're doing, the new technology and innovation that we're incorporating into DOT, that is what the new Office of Transformation is about. And the good thing is every year we'll come back in the legislative session and report those successes to you and the challenges that we have and the ongoing opportunities there. So a lot going on here. We're excited about that. We'll address a lot of that in the legislative session, but just wanted to touch on that. I know I'll reflect on this book as we go along in this presentation. But before I continue and we go into some of the more details of this, I'm going to turn it over to our new Assistant Secretary, Eric Dauphiné, the new Assistant Secretary of Project Delivery, and he's going to tell you about some of the activities that we've gone on in that transformation process. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. I want to start by, I'm sorry, Eric Dauphiné. I'm gonna learn, sir. Eric Dauphiné, Office of Assistant Secretary, Office of Project Delivery for DOTD. I want to start by thanking everyone for attending. Excited to see such a great turnout. These public hearings are an instrumental part of our project prioritization and selection process. While these are the official hearings, also enjoy getting feedback throughout the year. So I just want to remind everyone, feel free to please contact us, either district administrator or myself, with any questions, concerns, input that will help us prioritize needs throughout the year. Feedback from legislators, local officials, and the public are key parts of the project selection process. along with other factors such as existing conditions, average daily traffic, safety concerns, maintenance costs, economic development, etc. We do utilize this feedback we receive throughout the year to deliver projects that are important to the people that we serve. Legislation last year created the Office of Transformation and the Office of Project Delivery. Both offices are aimed at enhancing efficiency, effectiveness, and accountability within DOTD. Since then, we have launched several new initiatives to modernize many of our internal processes. With respect to project delivery, we are evaluating and streamlining our entire process, including project prioritization, an updated project delivery framework, task and responsibility-oriented project management, a new project reporting system for transparency, and even contract administration and construction phase consistency. Essentially, our goal is to do three things: clearly define project priorities, establish a 5-year living, fiscally constrained highway priority program, along with ideas on how to fund and resource the projects. And 3, reform our project management and delivery process to provide for more accountability and consistency from project conception to construction. Another huge effort is with the communication of the highway priority program, specifically more transparent communication. Communicating our priorities, the risk associated with project development, challenges, and opportunities will foster more trust and collaboration amongst all stakeholders needed to deliver critical infrastructure. Aside from the internal process enhancements that are underway, another key component in the formula, and perhaps the largest component, is funding. DOTD has historically allocated all federal and state dollars in each fiscal year. And in the past couple of years, additional dollars through the Louisiana Transportation Infrastructure Fund have helped to advance the delivery of an additional 100 projects across the state, totaling $530 million in roadway preservation projects alone. We had 62 additional projects delivered in addition to our regular program funding in 2024, and then another 37 projects that are on or ahead of schedule this fiscal year. In addition to the LTIF funding for these capital projects, each district received $7.5 million last year and $7 million this year in operational maintenance funding. This funding was spent on several typical maintenance operations, but also on in-house crews, utilizing some of this funding to purchase materials to help maintain and preserve our existing system, reducing the assets that we have in deteriorated conditions, which ultimately helps stretch our capital budget. The continuation of these efforts will truly help deliver and advance essential infrastructure improvement and address a growing backlog of needs. I want to say thank you to all of the legislators here for the trust and commitment in providing us these additional dollars. And also want to say thank you to the district, the design folks, construction folks, and maintenance folks for taking the challenge in delivering these additional projects. This combined effort is making a difference statewide. With that, I'd like to introduce the District Administrator for District 08, Mr. Troy Russell, and he'll discuss some projects and accomplishments in District 08 in more detail.
Mayor Butler, good to see you.
Thank you, Eric. I'm Troy Russell, the District Administrator for District 08 here in Alexandria. I know there's a lot of information that you just saw up on the slide, some accomplishments and maintenance, but I'd also like to talk a little bit about what we've done here in District 08. As you can see, statewide, I believe 305 bridges repaired. We talk about the litter, the acres. It's one of the big conversations we had today. And you'll see some of these numbers maybe on a smaller level that we do here in the district. But you can see it's quite a significant accomplishment statewide in what we've done. And in no small part to what's been done with the LTIF funding, and I'm going to touch on that. And so what I'd like to do is first we're going to recognize the staff members that we have here from District 08. And so if you would mind, stand when I call your name, just so folks can see you. Mr. Jonathan Lashney, ADA of Engineering. We have Mr. Joseph Montalvo, he's our ADA of Operations. Chantel Davis, who's our ADA of Business. And I promised I wouldn't do this to her. You can sit down, Ms. Chantel. But I would be remiss with the additional funding that the districts have received and the funding mechanisms that we have, the constraints on how we purchase, tracking the LTIF, making sure that we're meeting our milestones, there's no one in our district that's worked harder and put more effort into tracking and making sure that we've met our goals and made sure that we spent these dollars in the best way for these taxpayers. And I want to thank you, Ms. Chantel, for the work and dedication you put in. And she helps us make sure that we're getting every penny spent the right way. So, our traffic engineer, Mr. Dale Craig, isn't present, but his assistant, Mr. Casey Witcher, is. I'll talk about one of their accomplishments here in a second. And then we have our bridge engineer, Charlie Franklin. And then area engineers, Justin Morrow of Oils and Rapides Parish, Jared Taylor, Grant, Natchitoches, and Wynn parishes, and Randall Duffy and Sabine and Verdon parishes. And I just want to say, to put the name to the face, we've done a lot of work putting some accomplishments together. I'm not going to be able to take all the time to go into all the nuts and bolts and take up the committee's time, but I would encourage any of you here that if you have specific needs or something specific you'd like to ask these gentlemen, we are here to answer any and all of your questions that we can. So with that, I think one of the images that they prepared for you is a video. This is a recently constructed project on LA6 in Natchitoches. I believe it's LA 504 intersection. Mr. Jared Taylor's team is the one that did the contract administration on this. This was a newer type of roundabout that we've used. It's called a turbo roundabout. And what I wanted to acknowledge, and Dale's not here, but I know Casey, you worked with him. Our team worked tremendously hard in securing the funding for this much-needed safety project. There were a lot of issues with how we were going to handle traffic at this location. And look, whenever you bring a roundabout to a community that maybe it's new to them, you get some questions and concerns, but all the feedback received has been extremely positive, and this has been a win for the district and a good project for the town of Natchitoches and their gateway coming in through LA6. So thank you and your team. As far as I believe that's what the limit of what we have with that. So I just want to talk a little bit about District 08. In general, thus far, with our regular highway program, we've had 13 projects let, totaling approximately $30 million. We anticipate another 13 projects with an additional $60 million for a total letting this year of $90 million. Like mentioned, we have seven parishes in our district: Natchitoches, Grant, Wynn, Avoyelles, Rapides, Vernon, and Sabine. That's 2,600 centerline miles of roadway, 6,000 lane miles of roadway. District 08 is geographically the largest district in the state. We have the largest number of centerline miles. We have the largest number of roadway lane miles in the state of Louisiana. So it's quite a challenge for our team. We talked about mowing and the numbers. We've herbicide treated over 13,000 acres. One of the things that we were able to do with LTIF money, and I was going to touch on that a little bit later, but we have historically received a lot of complaints about Johnson grass on the interstate, and depending on the type of weather we hit, encroaches very much on the shoulder of the road. There's a very expensive herbicide that we in the past have not had the funds available to use to purchase for that, and we were able to use LTIF funds. We've made 2 applications of that this past growing season. We intend to do so the next year. And if you drive I-49 through District 08, I truly believe that you can see a difference, and that's one real direct impact from that. And y'all are going to have to bear with me. I've been a little bit under the weather. I got some water, but I'm going to try to do my best. Along with that, 173 signalized intersections, warning beacons, 50,000 roadway signs. And so, as I mentioned, I wanted to bring up 2 challenges, and I'm going to hit on that with this. And I really want to say this, not so much for the legislators, but the members of the public that may be here, because I think sometimes it's hard to differentiate when you look at DOTD, and we start talking about different pots of money and how we handle things. At the district level, we get operational funds that we use on a day-to-day basis, and that's to put gas in the trucks, buy tires, batteries, parts, road signs, reflectorized pavement markers, toilet paper, pencils. That pot of money that we get for District 08 is $3.2 million. The best I can tell, that number has remained the same for at least 10 to 15 years. And what we've done some numbers in looking at the buying power that you lose over that period of time, you could run different numbers anywhere from 30 to 60%. Of that $3.2 million, 1.2 is fuel right off the top. about $1 million for parts, batteries, tires. That's right up, so now you're at 2.2 off of that. We spent $200,000 on herbicide. We have a striping goal that we have to meet every year. We got to buy bridge timbers and make repairs. And so prior to LTIF funding, it was the silk purse sow's ear trying to just fix things with baling wire. And so I want to bring out the challenges at the operational level and how LTIF has impacted that. And I also want to talk a little bit in a minute about challenges on a project funding level, which again, so we have all, and I think the secretary will probably talk about it, we have all these different categories that are used to fund the projects we utilize, but that's not necessarily at the disposal of the district, for lack of a better term. The headquarters allocates certain fundings to the districts, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. But with our striping goal, because of LTIF, we were able to purchase $678,000 worth of paint and beads, striping. Our goal is 1,200 miles a year. We were able to exceed that by 15% and stripe 1,382 line miles of roadway. And prior to LTIF, we weren't able to fund our goal. And so I want to say again, thank you. That's the real impact on the ground of what that funding is doing at the district level. As far as our bridges, we maintain our state system bridges, and we inspect both state system and off system. We have the greatest number of bridges to inspect in the state. We have 1,750, but we have a tool that most other districts don't have. We have an extra inspector. Representative Larverdane called me up one day. He was driving in his area, and he felt the impact at a bridge in, and we had our Charlie Franklin, our bridge crew, went out immediately. And what I want to point out is Representative Larverdane came out there, met with our guys. When they did the maintenance work, he crawled under there with them, looked at what they were doing, and I just want to thank you for that, because those guys still talk about it, and it meant the world to them. And I want to tell you, I appreciate the time that you spent with them and making that happen. But with that, again, 1/3 of our bridges are in what's categorized as fair condition, which are in great need of maintenance funds and maintenance activities, and that's going to be a challenge as we go forward in the future. A lot of times folks don't think about DOTD when it comes into disaster response, and again, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go over this really quickly, but we're ready when the hurricanes come. We're ready when the ice storms hit. Because of LTIF and our funding that we've been able to utilize, we currently have 1.5 million pounds of salt on hand in preparation for winter weather response. We've also used some of the funds that have come to pass in the last couple of years. We had not been equipped previously for brine application, and so we now have storage locations for brine both in Alexandria and Natchitoches, and the equipment to distribute it, and the equipment to generate it. So that's a changing tool in our toolbox for response to winter weather events. And again, that's not in short effort due to the LTIF. So I'm going to go really quickly. The one thing that as the challenge, I said I had two challenges. The other challenge that I want to bring up to you, I threw out the number of miles of roadway we had, the 2,600 centerline miles of roadway. And so a lot of folks here today, I'm sure, can have concerns about specific roads. And as the year goes through, and most of you I have, at least in our district, we have personal relationships with, and you'll call them and concerned about a road, and I'll tell you, okay, that road falls under funding category PRNS. And for our district, of that 2,600 miles number that I threw out there, over 1,500 miles of our roadway system are funded under the PRNS category. Now, in the last 6 years, the average cost per mile over the past 6 years to rehab work on those categories was $750,000 per mile. Where we are right now is post-COVID, depending on the type of treatment, you're looking at about $1 million a mile, okay? So if we just look at that in its most simple form and you say, okay, I ballpark got 1,500 miles in my system, it ballpark costs $1 million a mile to rehab that roadway. And you say, at a district level, on average, we typically get around $7 million a year in that funding category. If you do that math, it comes out, like if I start on day one on one, it's 215 years before I get to the end. And so what I'm building to in that is many of the roads that we were able to address through the LTIF funding were roads that would have fallen into this funding category that would have been behind the multi-year backlog that we have in that funding category. And I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but one of the things we've done, especially in LTIF 1.0, is we developed some hybrid projects where DOTD crews would go out in-house, we would do the prep work, the patching, we would pull the shoulders back, get everything ready, and the contractor would only have to come in and do a mill and overlay and get in and out. And so like Representative Johnson over by Ball Elementary, the 1204, I believe it is, for several years, you had reached out to me about that roadway and talked about the need, and I know if Mayor Wilkins here, but, very important to the locals. It fell into this PRNS category. It was behind, at that same time, Representative Shamahorn, we were discussing in great detail LA 117, and the whole Transportation Committee drove down 117. And so, I don't know why, but that route did become a priority for us. And so, again, we were able to do a hybrid project on that roadway in a funding category that we never got to. Mayor Woodworth is here, LA 3265. Thank you, sir. Well, I appreciate you saying that, sir. Thank you very much. And again, the only way that was able to happen was through the LTIF funding, through that mechanism, because it's in this much desired funding category that we just don't typically have enough to cover. So, just in talking about that and just setting the groundwork, because it's kind of like a bank, they give you so much per year in that category, and we have focused on LA 117 and some other projects, and I'm going to give a little summary of what we've done on that because it's been such a hot button issue for the committee. But we are actually in a deficit right now. We're overspent in that category. So because when a project comes back, right, if you estimate that it's going to cost $7 million and it comes back at $10 million, and for whatever decision we decide to award that, well, now the district's allotment is in the hole by $3 million. And so in that PRNS category, here's a list of 42 different projects that are on our radar that we've kind of got in our pencil priority here that total $176 million. And that's just kind of in the realm of coming up with the idea of what our priorities would be. So the challenges, both on a macro scale and micro scale of our funding at the district. So 117, just for, I know, Rep, I think your district changed a little bit, but I still say you were very instrumental in what we've done over there. We did a project, like I said, out of LTIF 1.0 in-house work from 117, 607 feet south of that bridge to log mile 11.6. That project complete, patching was in-house. LA 117 Tank Trail Road has been a question in Vernon Parish. That project has been let. They were scheduled to start this week, actually. I think the weather's got them. They'll probably be starting within the next week or so. 117 at Bellwood, that project that we've talked about, to LA 120 in Natchitoches Parish. That project was let and is scheduled to begin work within the next couple of weeks. Another project on that corridor that, we've repeatedly been asked about is the project on the Vernon side with the military issue corridor. That project's estimated at $18 million. I think that, I'm not sure what category of funding that's in now, but the plans are being developed and is advancing. But again, your efforts on 117 did not go missed, and we've definitely put a lot of effort into that. So with that, I know I got to hurry up. Do I have time to go over LTIF or just really quickly? So in the main budget bill of LTIF, we got 3 projects in 1.0, LA 174, LA 111, and LA 9. All three of those were delivered on time, on target. One is fully complete, one is 60% complete, and one is 42% complete. All of that did meet the targets. What we've got in the capital side of 2.0 is LA 1 in Natchitoches Parish, LA 126 in Wynn, LA 10 in Vernon, 107 in Avoyelles, and 1207 in Rapides. 1207 has already been let back in August. That project's proceeding. I know Representative Mike Johnson, we've kind of talked a little bit about that in the past. All of those other projects, 3 have the final plans complete, anticipating letting on time and being delivered as expected. So again, I'm not going to go into everything of what we've done, but I do want to touch one thing, Mike, if I can. You talked a lot about trees at the last one. And we had contracts for trees, and we did a house removal for trees. Care to guess how many trees we took down that were at risk for the roadway?
I called you several thousand times, so that's more than that.
One tree per call.
Between using LTIF funds for contract, and we used LTIF funds to rent equipment that allowed our crews to do in-house removal that they weren't typically equipped to do. We cut 2,538 dead trees that were at risk of falling on the roadway.
Thank you.
And so, again, I know that was a hot button for you. I know I've taken up way more of my time. I've got plenty more information. If y'all want to ask me what we've done with LTIF 1 and 2, all I want to do is tell y'all I'm extremely thankful for it. Like I said with the challenges before, if we have to go back to a base $3.2 million operational funding, I don't know how we do it. But this is delivering to the needs of the people. I'm able to respond to the calls of the legislatures. We've had project, I think the mayor of LeCount was here. We had a project on 112, same kind of thing. So.
Thank you, Mr. Roussel. And for the public's benefit, you referenced the 3 LTIF 1.0 projects that were completed on time. Just so we all on the same page, that funding was appropriated when?
So that was of the 24 session.
June 24.
Yes, sir.
So June of 2024 was when the appropriation happened. Then we have 60 days of making sure the paperwork goes through on the funding going through. And you took your allocation and constructed those roads in how many months?
Well, again, one of them is fully complete. I don't have that final date. One, we got the notice to proceed was in February to give you that turnaround, and then we're 60% complete on it, and then the other one is 42% complete. But again, the big key for us internally is getting plans developed, getting environmental clearance done, getting the project let, getting it awarded, getting the contract online, and getting them out there and going to work within that window. And that's the real challenge. And so, yes, sir, our team worked extremely hard on that.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Speaker Pro Tem Mike Johnson.
Mr. Secretary, I'm glad you're sitting here because I think what you've just seen is a masterful human relations manipulation. That a guy can come up here and tell you he doesn't feel good, so he lowers your expectations. And he's able to get David Butler to lead an ovation. I got to tell you, I don't know how it is in other regions as far as their director for that region, but I call this man days, nights, weekends, holidays. He always responds. And it's never a we can't, I've kind of nurtured him away from the we can't do it, but now he has a can do or how can we do attitude. And I just want you to know, as his boss, how much we appreciate him in District 27 and I think all over central Louisiana for how much he responds to us. It's not always yes when we call, but it's never a, well, even if it's a no, I call him back and we get moving there. And because of that, I think the people in District 27 has been well served by what this man does and all of central Louisiana. And he understands that when I call him about a tree, I'm not calling him about a tree, I'm calling him about a life or somebody on the highway. Or if I'm calling about a roadway by a school, I'm not calling about the roadway for the school, but I'm worried about the children in the school. And he cares. And we've got too little of that in some of the government. And I just want to applaud him. Now, he's not going to ever hear this is one time a year that he gets this. But I just want you to know how much we appreciate him. Don't you dare move him or bring him to Baton Rouge. We need him right here. Because, and we were talking during Thanksgiving, and I just appreciate all you do
very
for
much.
us. And now I've set you up for all the things I'm going to ask you for in 2026.
This is the Mike Johnson binder. We worked really hard to put everything together.
I pull up my phone and I've got the priority calls, and you come before my wife or my kids. So, but I just want to thank you for everything he's doing. And we're working on some other projects, and I'm excited about it. It's not in this list, but I love the fact that you got people going so slow around the roundabout in your video. We're going to have to figure out how to do that. But we're wanting to do the similar out at Pinecrest.
Yes, sir.
And to help us there. And thank you for being responsive to the public on the 165, 167 project, and how you modified a project that was supposed to start on a Monday the week before. Mr. Secretary, you was on that call to accommodate some of the businesses. And it's not perfect, but we're getting close to being through with the project.
It is, and I don't know. if
People
we have to-
felt like you were listening, which
Yes,
is
sir.
something I don't think happened in the past.
And I have another positive that I can share with you offline on that project as well. So,
Good, thank you.
thank you very much. I'll come back.
Well, thank you. And, Mr. Chairman, as you pointed out, the folks here at the district have worked around the clock to make sure that we deliver those LTIF projects. So, special thanks to everybody in District 08 on all the hard work that they've done, as well as our headquarter folks. Again, I said that they're really dedicated to delivering this priority plan this year and every year, but certainly working around the clock to make sure that what you said is correct. And so, just want to give them another round of applause for all their hard work throughout this year. So with that, if you wouldn't mind, we will transition from the district overview and the transformation overview and really start the presentation on our highway priority program overview. And so with that, this year, what we would like to do is really give a broad overview of what the program is, really just to recap that for everybody in the room. As we go through this process, of course, selecting projects is really what we're looking at, so we'll give an overview of that selection process, and then finish with the conclusion of what's the investment this year in infrastructure in our state. And so that's really just an overview of what you'll be looking at. And so as we start every year, as you can see, what we have today in all of these roadshow meetings is really our prioritized plan for the state's transportation infrastructure. And at the end of the day, what we're looking at is what are we engineering, designing, and constructing in FY 26-27. And then essentially it's making sure that these tax dollars are going to good use every year. And so we get this opportunity to present this to you and then hear from the public, get feedback so that we can incorporate that either in the final plan or in next year's plan or beyond. And so that's really why we're here today, and that's that broad overview. Each and every year, we always start with our goals and objectives, and so I think that this slide does a good job of showcasing those 5 objectives that really we hope to achieve each and every year. And so the first, you can see there, preserving the system. Essentially, we want to make sure that we're doing everything to provide a reliable system, provide everything that we need to do to provide those preservation projects, as Troy mentioned. In addition to that, we've got to operate the system reliably, and so this is really that second category that we focus on. In that, we make sure that we have evacuation routes for emergencies. In addition to that, we encourage innovation and technology use. We look at lighting and other things, and so that's that second goal and objective. Third, we are always looking to improve the safety of the system. Obviously, safety is critical. We're always working towards a net zero in fatalities. We want to reduce crashes, and so anything that we can do to improve safety for both motorized and non-motorized users of our system is critical. The last 2, of course, expanding the system, anything that we can do to relieve congestion, provide widening efforts, really to help improve connectivity in our communities is what we're doing, and that falls into that goal and objective. And then finally, this all feeds into improving the quality of life for our communities. Anything that we can do to foster multimodal commerce across the state is all part of this goal and objective of this plan. And so I think this slide does a good job of capturing that. Within that, of course, we have to put these in buckets and project types to help align with funding in our federal program. And so you can see those 5 types similarly to goals and objectives. You've got preservation, and just to recap, of course, that's pavement overlays, patching and bridge maintenance work. Those types of efforts are all part of that preservation project. You've got the capacity projects, the roadway widening, new interchange and other things to provide congestion relief and new capacity. We have the operations and motorist services category, and that focuses on ways that we can improve the reliability of the system. The types of projects there are traffic signal upgrades, drainage repairs, lighting, and other efforts. In addition to that, obviously, safety, as I mentioned, is critical and paramount in our department. Anything that we can do to reduce crashes and improve travel for roadway users, those types of efforts, we're looking at intersection upgrades, guardrail improvements and upgrades, pedestrian and bicycle accommodations to install there, as well as roundabouts like you just saw that Troy presented. And then finally, we have a miscellaneous category. We've got a number of efforts, small repairs, our roadway transfer program, and so you'll see all of that in that investment breakdown, but these are our 5 types of projects that they fall into. And then finally, within this broad overview is really the status of every project. So, you know, a lot of the questions that we get asked are, when is it going to construction? Which stage is it in? So in this booklet, you'll see these projects fall into one of these 3 categories. The first, a lot of focus is projects that are moving to construction, the projects that are scheduled for letting, that we're advertising and bidding. And so a lot of that effort that we'll talk about in this investment is those projects that are scheduled for letting in FY 26-27. If it's not in there, obviously it's in some form of project development, and so we'll have it in some form of stage where we're developing the concept, we're working on the environmental approvals and permitting process, or the engineering, design, and real estate stage. And so you'll see it in that category in this booklet. And then finally, obviously on projects of certain magnitude, we are looking for funding or trying to compile a funding plan for a project. And so you'll see projects waiting for funding. Oftentimes, we're trying to match state dollars and find federal dollars to get to construction. And so, you know, we have obviously the 5 types of projects and then the 3 stages that are part of this plan. And so just wanted to provide that brief overview before we get into that investment. And of course, obviously, a lot of this process is making recommendations for priorities and selecting what goes in this fiscal year's plan. And so wanted to give you a brief snapshot of that before we talk about that investment. And so as you just saw, those 5 goals and objectives and those project types, this is reiterated in our revised statute 48229.1, and you see those 8 categories of objectives for prioritizing, very similar to those priorities. You know, you can see there the 8 categories in this revised statute, bringing the system into a good state of repair. The preservation side, you've got improving safety. 3 is supporting the resiliency of the system. 4 is increasing that accessibility, the capacity side, economic development and intermodal connectivity, and of course, innovation, use of technology, and protecting the environments. And then when you cross matrix this back to those goals and objectives, you can see where each of those categories of priorities fall within each of those goals. And so we're making sure that our starting point is really what you're seeing here in that revised statute, that we're following that for both goals and objectives as well as priorities. And so within that, now that we have that framework for goals, objectives, and priorities, we've got the project identification process. So every year we start with gathering the data and then analyzing the data. We have a ton of data at the department, obviously both on roadway conditions, on the operations of these roadway systems, but also safety, crash records, fatality records, as well as congestion records and traffic counts. And so taking all of that information and then seeking stakeholder input, talking to the public, talking to state and local officials, MPOs, rural organizations, and other state agencies to make sure that we're getting your feedback year round. And so taking all of that information and making sure that we're identifying all of the projects necessary really to complete our system. Of course, within this, taking the stakeholder input, the technical analysis, we're working with our project teams both at headquarters as well as the district, taking that input, looking at our long-range plan and seeing how these projects fall within there, and then, of course, finding available funding, whether at the state and the feds, to make these decisions. And so what does all this look like in addition to all of these factors? It's really this chart here where we are going from the identification to the recommendation, and then we are proposing a draft fiscal year plan. And so we presented this to the Joint Transportation Committee on October 1st of this year, sent that to each of you, and then now we are at the roadshow in that red box where we're presenting this to you and to the public to get that feedback, incorporate that into a draft final plan that we would deliver to you in the legislative session of next year. And so this process that you can see is all boiled down on this chart here. But obviously it starts with those goals and objectives, really looks towards those priorities in the revised statute, and incorporates all of the data that we have at the department to make the best decisions that we can this year with the available funding. And so with that, all of that effort goes into what's in this investment. And so want to reflect on what that looks like statewide, and then touch on what that means for DOTD District 08. And so this year in FY 26-27, you can see that this is a $1.2 billion investment in transportation infrastructure across the state. And so a significant investment. Of course, as you heard, this is outside of monies like LTIF, non-recurring dollars, that would be in addition to this. And so this is just our traditional highway priority program, but that is a significant investment. Of that, $913 million is dedicated to projects that would be let for construction, and that amounts to 302 projects statewide. And so again, a significant investment. And so with that, you can see that note there. Of that 1.2 billion, 220 million is dedicated to pre-construction, to engineering, design, environmental efforts, and then the remaining 70 million is dedicated to efforts for contingencies, construction, engineering during construction, and CE&I services that the department does to ensure that these projects are constructed properly. So that all goes into that $1.2 billion investment. And then when we reflect on the project type, as we mentioned earlier, you see a significant portion, $553 million, is dedicated to preservation statewide. That's the big green pie of the pie chart. You've got another $101 million dedicated to operations and motor services, $74 million in safety, and then the remainder falls in that miscellaneous category. And so if you would, I will take a minute to just kind of reflect on what those look like in detail, and then touch on the district. And so as you can see there, this preservation category that is the largest, it contains both interstate and non-interstate preservation. That non-interstate preservation is broken up into different categories, like our surface transportation plan, the National Highway System, as well as our non-federal aid category. And so you can see that makes up a large chunk. We've got preventative roadway maintenance work. We also have, obviously, the interstate system, and then another large piece is obviously the preservation and maintenance work that we do on bridges. You can see our on-system bridge program is very large, approximately $200 million this fiscal year. And so that makes up that $553 million piece of the preservation work. On the motorist services and operations side, a number of categories there. I won't read them all, but you can see we've got ITS, intelligence traffic services, as well as traffic control devices is a large chunk. You've got anything from interstate lighting to rest areas, access management, ferries and major repairs on ferries. You've got the movable bridge maintenance program that's part of this category. And so these all make up a large portion, way stations as well. And so this is all part of that operations and motorist services category. And then finally, the last two, safety is obviously critical. We've got both railroad as well as surface transportation safety. You've got that category at roughly $74 million. And then finally, the miscellaneous category, where you have anything from the roadway transfer program to intermodal connections. You've got the NEVI, the Federal Electric Vehicle Program, as well as TAP, Transportation Alternative Projects, and a number of other urban systems efforts. And so that makes up the breadth of that $913 million construction investment, and then $1.2 billion total investment for the state. And then finally, what does that mean for the district? And so, as I mentioned, we've got projects going to construction. You've got 17 projects in this district that will be let for construction. Those are all provided to you in that booklet that you can get at the front desk. And again, we have this guide booklet with some details here on each district. And so we've got a couple of pages on District 08, trying to do our best to continue to improve the messaging and communication of this highway priority program. We also have maps and figures that showcase all of the projects that are being let in this district, as well as projects that were let last year and beyond. And so you can see that geographically as well as a one-pager. So I'd say, through this process, we're always trying to improve. Continuous improvement is part of that Office of Transformation. And so we will continue to do that through this highway priority program, but really focus this year on making sure that we communicate what's in the program and what we're looking for funding to really build. Obviously, we've got great needs across the state, including here. And so Mr. Roussel demonstrated that. But I think our commitment is to making sure that we deliver what's in this year's highway priority program, and to your point, Mr. Chairman, what's in the LTIF program. And so we're happy to say that our district team and our DOTD team is doing that. But with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Appreciate your time, and thank you again for your leadership and the funding and trust that you have in us.
Secretary Lede, you referenced unmet needs, and as we move forward, it could very well be that LTIF wasn't the best way for us to appropriate funding and execute on projects. Also with the maintenance funding, the 7.5 to 7 over the last 2 fiscal years. So what I would like for you and Mr. Dauphiné to do is to work with the district administrators and their staffs on unmet needs that we're just talking about, especially if it's a piece of equipment that they could continually use, whether it's a paver or a little mini excavator for some ditch digging on our end. I think it's good for the members when we're debating Representative DeWitt there on appropriations on where funding should go. When we're armed with the needs from the very beginning, and we've seen all the accomplishments already over the last year and a half, really, not 2 years, year and a half, I think that makes a good argument when we're trying to, appropriate funding and when that same dollar is competing for different interests. And so not just with LTIF and not just with funding the highway priority program, but also with the CEA process for the grass and litter abatement for the entire state, when we've doubled the number of reimbursed, I think that's correct, we've doubled the number of reimbursed entities that participate in the cooperative endeavor agreement process, both from a parish and municipality perspective. So I think it's good for us as a committee, as members, to understand what those needs are. Questions from members for the secretary? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We're going to move straight into the most important part of the hearing. That will be public comment. Please walk to the podium and state your name and provide us your thoughts. We're going to start with Mr. Randy Wiggins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. I'm Randy Wiggins, and I am Police Sheriff for District B, which is this area right here. Thank you for being here and the department that's come here today to visit with us in our community. I remember when I served in your position at one time, what it took for you guys to serve, the commitment it took on you and your family. We want to thank you for that commitment that you're doing, because it's critically important. And the movement and the things that you guys have done in the last 2 or 3 sessions has been outstanding, especially with Push to Reset on the DOTD operation. And everybody's excited about what we're hearing about that, and it's certainly going to bode well for our state. I have certainly I've talked to some of my colleagues here, and I don't be redundant, but for me, one of the things that's critically important is for this 28 East corridor that goes out to the side. We got a lot of north-south highways going, but we don't have many east and west. And so 28 East, 4-laning from where it goes now from Labuse out to Highway 84 and over to Mississippi, I think would be a great addition. I know we've got Interstate 14 that's on the drawing board, but at my age, I don't buy green bananas, so it'd be a long time before I would see, if I ever saw Interstate 14, but I think if we could begin to build this out further and I think there's something on the drawing board for 28 East, but I would certainly put a plug in for 28 East as soon as possible, get it four-laned out to, certainly to 1207, and then on to 115 could, and then all the way to 84 as soon as possible. The other thing locally for me is an area that I spoke to my Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, who's my rep, is 3144, which is Edward Drive, and goes over to Donahue, and then on over to the Military Highway. That's a major thoroughway for us. Basically it's a bypass for dumping off of 28 East for people going north over there. And so when you come on the Edgewood Drive, you get to Donahue. You got 3 hills that go into an intersection. You got to drop off on one side, so it's critical from a safety standpoint and a traffic standpoint. It needs to be reworked as soon as possible because it's very tight. If you got any kind of trailer on a vehicle there, you get jammed up pretty much. I thank the DOTD for recently. I talked to them about giving more time on that light. We have a large church down there, and on Sunday mornings it gets backed up way up. And talked to those guys, and they jumped right on it and expanded the time. And right now we get out of church a lot quicker. And so I just appreciate all the things you guys are doing, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Wiggins. Herman Williams.
Good afternoon. My name is Herman Williams. I'm the mayor of Town LeCount, and I just want to thank DOTD for all they have done in my town. But I do have a problem. But the information that I received from the presentations, I'm on the let list, so I can't stand here and chew on you. But
Absolutely, you can.
I do want to add to the project itself, because 112 you just did the roadway, but my concern would be inside the city limits. My shoulders, I have drainage under those shoulders, and we can't fix the drainage under the shoulders until you fix the road, and it goes right through the middle of town. It's one of the main streets in town. So 456 is a priority for the Town LeCount, and I appreciate being on the let list. But when you do your research, I hope you include the shoulders. And thank y'all.
Thank you. Judy James. Bless.
Good afternoon. My name is Judy James, representing the town of Mansura. I'm here in concern with the road ties, the railroad ties that's inside the city limits of Mansura. These ties been there for over 10 years, and you know there's environmental hazard and everything that's going on, and I feel that someone needs to come and look at them to see, because you have children, you have rodents, and it's a real hazard, you know, where they at. I mean, I have pictures to see. It's not 1 or 2 tides. It's a lot of tides that's sitting there, you know, that's been there for over 10 to 15 years, you know. And I'm here, again, to see if something could be done about it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Please, if you have an extra copy of that, or
Yeah.
if we need to make a copy to leave
Yeah,
with
you
staff,
can
that'd be great.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ryan Yerby Sr.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, committee. In front of you, there's a handout.
Please introduce yourself for the record. I'm sorry.
Ryan Yerby. All right. I'm a farmer in Grant Parish. I'm the president of Grant Parish Farm Bureau, so I represent a lot of people in our area. And I'm here today because the farmers in our communities, we've got a problem it's growing. It's getting bigger and bigger. Our society grows and expands, so the number of vehicles on the road. But in turn, the numbers of farmers and loggers are decreasing. That means we've got to get bigger. We've got to travel farther. We've got to do more, meaning we have to spend more time on the highways with equipment. Our farm-to-market roads we've outgrown them. Mainly, I'm focusing on LA 8 in in between Colfax and Boyce. There's LA 492, also in that same area, which is the main agricultural portion of Grant Parish. But a good infrastructure is absolutely necessary for a great economy. And what we've got right here is a safety hazard. And like I said, if you will see these handouts that I passed out, I had for all of you, they always tell us share the road. Where? We don't have anywhere to go. We're 14 to 16 foot wide. We're traveling a max of 30 miles an hour. And if you can go through, if you flip through some of these images here, these are images that I've taken from our equipment. I took these myself. That is the view that I see from my driver's seat. I'm 14 foot wide in these pictures. This is a 2-lane highway, and there's no shoulder. If what little shoulder is there, when we have to get over, as you'll see, there's oncoming traffic. We're off the highway by more than half. We're damaging our equipment. We're damaging what little bit of shoulder's there. It's unsafe. We're working with we share the highways with 18-wheelers, log trucks. Logging is a huge industry in Grant Parish. Log trucks coming at us at 55 miles an hour, loaded 90,000 pounds, and he's top heavy. Well, if he has to veer, that's an accident waiting to happen. If we have to veer, but the main problem that we're running into here is there's nowhere for us to go. We have to stop. We have to find a spot, pull over and stop. That's causing an additional hazard. If we can't get over, people don't pay attention to us anymore. We're 14 foot wide, we're 13 foot tall, we have orange flashing lights, we have escorts in the front, we have escorts in the back, we can have police escorts. Nobody pays attention to us anymore. They're on the phone, they're not paying attention, they're zipping by, they're trying to get where they're trying to go. They're not worried about what we're trying to do. So it is become an increasing hazard over the years. So I'm asking for focus on LA 8 between Colfax and Boyce, LA 492, which are major agricultural thoroughfares for both logging and agriculture. And as I said, I'm the president of Grant Parish Farm Bureau. We have submitted dialogue to the Louisiana State Farm Bureau for resolutions to support, and you'll see that that's on page 3 in yellow, supporting the, as these highways come up for reworking, that these, widening these shoulders, paving these shoulders, be put into these projects. We also had in here that overhanging trees, and I would like to really thank the department for really taking care of that in our area. Requests have come out, and they got right on it. So we do thank you for that much. We appreciate what y'all have done for our highway systems, because that's the only way we've got to get from Grant Parish, that's the only way we've got to get our crops to market. So we appreciate that. But like I said, I think the infrastructure is time for a little bit of upgrade. I know I think I've heard the term 16 million added to it to just add these shoulders. But 16 million is a drop in the bucket when you're talking about somebody's life. Like I said, we're dealing with my life, my family's life, my employees' life. So, and like I said, that's not only counting us, but the taxpayers as well. On the last page, you'll see here, this is, again, from the same piece of equipment, LA 71, where the highway's the same width, but it has a wide paved shoulder. And as you can see, I'm on the shoulder. I'm not blocking traffic. Traffic's not even having to move over. Everybody's just moving along. It's a safe spot for everybody. So just asking for consideration on these projects, mainly for our area, but just in the future, in agricultural communities especially, to please consider that. Like I said, this equipment is getting bigger. It's not getting any smaller. We're having to go farther. We don't want to be on these highways any more than y'all want us on the highways. It's not a fun place for us. It's a stressful time. And I can't tell you how many, in the past 5 years, there's been 3 accidents with farm equipment and vehicles. One recently here over the plant season. But I cannot tell you how many close calls, near misses, that could have and should have ended up in fatalities that were just near misses just because there was nowhere for us to go. So thank you for your consideration. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments.
And
Representative Furman.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I, and Ryan, if you want to stay there just for a second longer, I want to make a few comments on what Mr. Yerby had to say. But first, I do also want to recognize we got Mr. Gatlin here. We've got several farmers from that part of Grant Parish, and his grandson was driving the piece of farm equipment that was involved in the accident, and $200,000 piece of equipment, and was clipped by an auto truck, so it could have been catastrophic, really. And I know Ken Richardson's here, and Cephas Bowie's not only a police chair, but a farmer too. So,
Got my dad.
and,
Like I got my dad, Charles Yerby, he's one
and
of the lead farmers here in
Mr.
our
Yerby
area, so
Senior is here, and so it is, this is a, sort of, we've got some unique circumstances there where you've got row crops, we've got timber, livestock. This is the main thoroughfare for the transport of livestock, and it's scary driving on, to drive a personal vehicle sometimes on Highway 8, and so I can only imagine when you're trying to get the crops in, what you're going through. But, and Mr. Secretary, just looking at the objectives for project prioritization that's in statute and that you reviewed with us, I think this project checks every box. Safety certainly a concern, and the road absolutely needs to be brought into a better state of repair. But this is the main east-west thoroughfare through Grant Parish. We've got several, at least a couple of wood products plants right across the bridge, and of course a lot of speculation about economic development in that area with potential data centers. And I know, Mr. Yerby, you met with LED on a big tract of land the state owns.
Correct.
Adjacent to Highway 8,
Right,
if I'm not mistaken, just a couple of weeks ago.
Right, so like I said, if for any future development of the parish,
Yes, so very,
this would be a huge infrastructure improvement.
yeah, very, very important project. So seems to have slipped through the cracks over the past few years, but would certainly, I would be very appreciative if that's something we could take a look at. And I want to echo what Representative Johnson said. Mr. Roussel, he's very responsible. When I call, the only problem is he's my constituent. So I complain about roads, and he starts complaining about the high cost of insurance. But they go above and beyond. In fact, Jonathan just spent about a half day with me and Mr. Gatlin riding around the western part of Grant Parish. So we're very appreciative of what they do here. And there are some challenges representing a rural district, and we just don't see a lot of blue on the west side of Grant Parish. So hopefully we could take a look at that. But I just want to thank Mr. Yerby and everybody for being here, and thank you for listening to us today.
One other thing to keep in mind on this portion of Highway 8, this is the only section of Highway 8. Highway 8 runs through the entire parish, all the way to Gina. All up through that rural area, that is paved shoulders. This is the only section where there's nowhere to go. So, thank you.
Thank you.
10 miles. Yeah, 10 miles.
Craig Smith?
Thank you. I'm Craig Smith, President of Rapides Parish Police Jury, and I will just to reiterate District 08 and what they do for us in our area. They work closely with the parish. We've created a partnership, so we know one another. We've had donuts and coffee before, and it's worked fine for us, so we appreciate that partnership. Also want to reiterate the importance and safety of Highway 28 East, the four-laning. That's very important to our area. Also, Highway 115 from 28 to Avoyles Parish line, I see it's back in the red, which means it's got bumped back. This will be the third time, I believe, it's been bumped back, and it's a very dangerous road. It's got a bunch of humps and bumps, and it's becoming very dangerous to our citizens, so I'd ask you to consider that, please. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And that was 115? Deborah Randolph?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, and members. I'm Deborah Randolph, President of the Central Louisiana Regional Chamber of Commerce. I appreciate the opportunity to address the Joint Committee on behalf of our 1,000 chamber member businesses. First, I'd like to thank Secretary Leday for meeting with community leaders recently in Alexandria to discuss key projects as he traveled through the state. And I also want to echo what the Speaker Pro Tem was saying about our district office team, because 100% of the time they are responsive and helpful to us, and as well as to our industry. So we appreciate them tremendously. Each year when we come, we bring a document which you have that has been distributed to you so that we can leave you with that and then follow up leading into legislative session as well. So we appreciate the opportunity to do that. I want to, before I get to some of the local projects, just to highlight a few of them, and as I lead into this, I do want to mention that as Police Juror Wiggins talked about, on our list is also the Highway 28 East project. East-West will continue to be important because of the length of time it takes to build an east-west interstate. But I do want to update you, even though there is no state ask at this time, about Interstate 14, because we do have some movement on that. And now our I-14 coalition, which has membership from the 5 states through which I-14 will connect military installations and ports, has joined forces. So our I-14 coalition is now partnering with the I-69 group and the I-27 group, working together as the Congressionally Authorized Future Interstate Coalition, or CAFI, to advocate for Congress to provide new dedicated funding above the line for the 3 unfinished interstates as part of the next surface transportation authorization legislation in 2026. There are 22 states represented in this joint coalition, which provides a great opportunity with that many members of Congress attached to those states to try to get this done. So the nation, of course, has now gone 3 decades without a dedicated federal funding mechanism for planning and construction of future interstate highways. So Congress has, since 1992, authorized numerous additional multi-state future interstates, but there's been no federal funding commitment to making these much-needed connectivity corridors a reality. So we strongly support Congress making a multi-state future interstate highways funding formula program a reality, and the new funding should be distributed to state DOTs based on the number of unconstructed multi-state authorized future interstate miles in each state. The guaranteed federal funds for the program should be in addition to each state's highway trust fund rate of return calculation, and states should have the flexibility to determine annual corridor development priorities. So we're going to be working really hard to get this done in that surface transportation bill going forward, and we ask for your support and assistance with that, and that of the Secretary and DOTD. Literally, it will enhance the value of Fort Polk. Because we've been working on this for the past few years, it has, of course, garnered the attention, positive attention, from the Department of Defense for the value of Fort Polk, both to our nation's defense. And look, it will connect to England Air Park, which is the intermediate staging base for Fort Polk, for the Joint Readiness Training Center, and the Central Louisiana Regional Port. And this will create a tremendous economic development corridor. So yes, it takes a long time to build it, stretch by stretch, but no time like the present to get started. But again, we certainly advocate for projects like the Highway 28 East 4-lane improvement from Labousse to the intersection of 84 as well, because it'll take a while for the other. Now, I'll mention a few other local projects. Second to last page in our little briefing is the urban systems projects that we have in the region, and you know, that list highlights Again, the need for additional urban systems funding. The MPO is currently capped at $3 million per FFY. And so that amount, of course, doesn't go very far when many projects average $1.5 to $2 million. So additional funding to the MPO would allow for additional projects to be constructed during each FFY inside the urban core of the central Louisiana region. So I'm not going to go through, it's a little bit of a long list on those urban projects, so we're, of course, are advocating for that. I will mention in our booklet, in addition to the Highway 28 East, Highway 165 Kingsville, due to the high capacity in that area, we advocate for additional capacity, funding for additional capacity on the Highway 165 corridor through the industrial park area that links Camp Beauregard and commercial business and industry, including Procter & Gamble, Plastipac, Crest Industries, and others along that corridor. The Pinecrest Roundabout project was submitted as a capital outlay request in November of 2025, and a preliminary design for that roundabout at LA 3144 was included as part of the district safety improvement plan for District 8. Let's see, Highway 28 East and Cottingham Expressway, due to high capacity in that area, of course, we would favor funding for a flyover ramp to access Cottingham southbound for westbound Highway 28 traffic, and that ramp would allow for more of a continuous flow of traffic that currently has to stop for on-grade intersections. And that project's included in the US 165 Monroe Highway corridor study. Highway 28 West, over on the south side of the river in Alexandria, MacArthur Drive to Vandenberg. With the increase of businesses locating on Highway 28 West, that is where much of the growth is in Alexandria, is along that corridor at this time. So especially the intersection of Highway 28 West and MacArthur Drive, that current intersection is not capable of meeting the existing traffic demand along those two major corridors, causing significant user delays there and potential safety issues. So alternative designs are currently being studied, we realize, but that'll, of course, need funding in the future to make that a reality. I'll mention MacArthur Drive improvements from Jackson Street to Highway 1. MacArthur Drive, US 165 and 71 capacity and safety improvements are needed along those feeder roads to it and intersections from Jackson Street to Bolton Avenue, including Elliott Street, West Monroe, Stimson Avenue, Bayou Rapides, Browns Bend Road, England Drive, and Bolton Avenue. And the intersection of US 165 at LA 496, Bayou Rapides, was identified as one of the top 10 bottleneck locations by the MPO in 22, 23, and 24, and this year, 2025. So design and model validation, proposed improvements are underway there. Let's see, rehab and overlaying of existing lanes, Highway 28 West and 165 Business and 165, the timed corridors, the time program and improvements to Highway 28 West have provided Central Louisiana with several great four-lane transportation corridors, and we're really thankful to legislative leaders for that. But we will need preservation dollars to maintain a state of good repair on those regionally important corridors to us. And then last, Sugar House Road, the City of Alexandria and the MPO are requesting $7.62 million for Sugar House Road. It's currently in priority 1 in capital outlay, while the city and MPO have each escrowed $2.5 million for the project. And of course, we ask that it be funded this year by releasing that and those capital outlay funds, in addition to the $19 million allocated in 2019. So those are just a few of the projects, but you've got our list that we're advocating for in the document. And again, we very much appreciate the opportunity to have you here in Alexandria, Pineville, and Central Louisiana, and appreciate the opportunity to be able to address the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Dauphiné, you got those? Good. You want to borrow my ink pen? Thank you, Ms. Randolph. Marcus Canella.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and legislators. I'm Marcus Canella. I represent the city of Alexandria. I want to reiterate one of Ms. Randolph's projects, which is MacArthur Drive from I-49 to Jackson Street. We've had some pedestrian strikes in this area. There's a lot of increased capacity at especially the Bayou Rapids intersection and Browns Bend Road. The congestion is getting so bad that we are actually, there's a lot of concern with potential development along that Browns Bend corridor and the increase in traffic and the impacts that's going to have. I understand that Arcadis has done a traffic study and they've sent out a few alternatives on what they think needs to be constructed in order to accommodate the additional traffic in this area. And we're just asking for consideration for y'all to move that forward, especially from I-49 to LA-28. That corridor is one of our main concerns, and we just want y'all's consideration to move that forward. The other project that we have Versailles Boulevard. That's our major arterial that connects LA-28 to Jackson Street, which is another state route. And at Versailles and Jackson Street, there's major congestion there as well, and we're asking consideration to build a roundabout there. The city's also looking to construct roundabouts along Versailles just to move traffic along better. But that Jackson corridor is very congested in that area. It really needs a turn lane, but sometimes the cure is worse than doing anything. So it really needs a roundabout. If you built another turn lane, you have to buy right away. It's another problem in itself. So a roundabout would be the proper fix in that area. And we're also working with Representative Laura Dane on Sugar House Road, and that's another primary project that we want to push forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Marusak.
I asked ahead of time, Mr. Chairman.
For the record, can we note how many people used that podium versus that podium? Just for the record.
I'm Jennifer Marusak. I'm the Executive Director of the Ports Association, and I don't know if Lane Kiffin brought this weather down with him, but I wish he would send it back because I'm tired of being cold. And if anybody doesn't like my driving, it's because I grew up learning to drive on the traffic circle here in Alexandria. My dad wouldn't let me go on a date in Natchitoches until I learned to drive around the traffic circle. So, you know, I just want to talk about our port system. I know this is historically a meeting about roads and bridges in the state, but I don't think you can possibly talk about our transportation system without talking about our extremely advantageous 29 active port system in the state. Our 5 Mississippi River ports comprise the largest port complex in the world. Louisiana ports carry 25% of U.S. waterborne commerce. It's 80% of the nation's grain now, 20% of the nation's coal. Including all of our rivers and intercoastal waterways, we have a magnificent 14,500-mile economic driver sitting at every one of our doorsteps. The port industry is critical to your regional and the nation's economy. Port-reliant industries are 1 in 5 jobs in Louisiana. 40 to 45% more direct jobs than the oil and gas industry. Our deepwater ports support global trade, coastal ports enable the energy industry, and our inland ports, like Mr. Russo's port here and yours here in this area, drives local economies, not only by moving the break bulk, but literally fueling the fuel industry. So what do we need? Of course, we need additional funding for dredging and for port infrastructure. We've got to get the rest of the Red River dredged all the way up to Shreveport. We're about 95% of the way there. We're ahead of dredging for the bigger ships down on the Mississippi River. But you all oversee the Joint Transportation System. Through the Joint Transportation Committee, oversee the Port Priority Program. We've been fortunate the last 10 years to get $39.4 million in it, but we are not statutorily obligated to get a dime. We need to continue to at least get the $39.4 million, but we actually need to increase it. You know, when Texas got an influx of money a couple years ago, they asked me to go over to their association and talk about our Port Priority Program because it works so well for Louisiana. The Mississippi Ports Association asked me to come over to meet with their group 2 weeks ago to talk about the Port Priority Program. So I can't say enough about how well that is run by DOTD and the Office of Multimodal Commerce. By the way, our Port Priority backlog is only $217 million. So if you could give us a fraction of what we need, we'd appreciate it more. But, you know, I want you to keep in mind that since its inception in 1989, only $739 million has gone to the Port Priority Program. DOTD itself has determined that the state receives $8 in taxes, jobs, and benefits for every $1 invested in our port system. And if that's not a return on investment, I don't know what is. Mr. Chairman and members, thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Members? Representative Lawverdane.
Button. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the Joint Transportation, I appreciate you all coming to the big city of Pineville in Central Louisiana. You're always welcome here. I also want to thank Mr. Secretary and Troy Roussel. The things that they're doing, putting money into projects, it means a lot. When we put money into projects, it means this area is growing. We need to grow Central Louisiana, so I want to thank you for what you're doing. I want to recap real quick. I want to thank you all. About 3 weeks ago, we had a meeting at the Sugar House Road Project, joint meeting, City of Alexandria, DOTD. Several members from DOTD were there. DOTD was there answering questions, professional, courteous. It was a great meeting, and the public had an opportunity to ask questions. So I want to thank the Secretary for his leadership. DOTD, thank you for what you're doing. We want that area to grow. The Sugar House Road project is important because it's in my district, and we want the southern part of Alexandria to grow. Right now, the western part, Highway 28 near the Coliseum, but we also want other parts of our city to grow. We want people to stay here. We've got to grow the whole region, so I want to thank you all for that. Also, real quick, we talked about Brown Bench Road near MacArthur. That area is very congested. We've got some residential homes that are growing in that area, so we need to get some type of engineering so we can try to expand it so we can stop some of the congestion. So whatever you all can do, looking at that. Also on LA1, which is 3rd Street, we need an overlay. It's kind of rough when you're traveling, real bumpy. We have several schools, a lot of neighborhoods, and also it's going south towards Marksville, so whatever you can do about that. Also, I want to give a shout out to my good friend, Ms. Jennifer. You all have been doing a good job with the ports and airports. Thank you. Even though this is roadshow, ports create jobs. You look at the New Orleans airport, you look at Alexandria airport, we've got an influx of money, the Baton Rouge airport. If we want our community to grow, we have to be able to transport people. So even though it's a roadshow, you're putting a lot of money in ports and airports, so I want to thank you for that. Also, when Troy talked about the bridge, I want to thank my colleague, Mr. Overton. Mr. Overton brought it to my attention. He and Mr. Jules Green, Mr. Overton's on the police jury. They brought it to my attention, and Troy and his team were out there real quickly. So I want to tell you, you all respond quickly. You handle the business. So, Mr. Secretary, welcome to Alexandria, and DOT, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Lauderdale. That sounded like a motion to adjourn. It is. Mayor Butler, tell some of Woodworth's finest to go take them about a 15-minute break in about 27 minutes. White lightning coming through.